This is Mike and C, and this is another episode of You Can't Handle the Truth. So what's on the slate today to talk about with our viewers?
All things jury duty. We're going to start by watching a clip from the new series on Freevee called Jury Duty.
Okay.
All right.
You are now the jury in the matter of Hillgrove versus Morris.
When they say jury of your peers, I think that's accurate. I mean, how long does this normally take? Have you done this before?
I'm a recognizable public figure.
Respectfully, I don't recognize you.
Juror number 54.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm gonna be upset if I don't get on the jury. Me? Ready, guys? Here we go.
All right, so this is what happened. Allegedly. We got defecation. There's a lady named Jacquees. I'm in it.
Try to keep an eye on her.
I want to do the best job that I can.
What do people usually say when they're trying to get out of this?
I'm only going off the thing I've seen on Family Guy.
Wait, what was it?
I've seen Peter pretends to be racist to get out of jury duty.
Would you be able to be a good juror for this matter?
Sir.
I'm racist.
Sir, please have a seat.
I don't know why I said that.
Eliminate that for the next time.
Totally. Yeah, that's a stupid idea.
The jury duty.
Sorry for the paparazzi.
This is a problem.
You're sequestered.
I Googled it. It's isolated.
Isolated.
Separated. Todd is a very interesting individual. He showed up wearing chair pants.
The difficulty is the lack of a banner.
Jesus Christ.
What are we looking at in here?
Hi, guys.
No!
Sorry. Jump scare.
This is the most unorthodox trial that I presided over.
Oh my God!
I try not to judge a book too much by its cover, but
Call your next witness.
It's true that you were once arrested for masturbating in a movie theater.
Yes, that's true. What was the movie? Pacific Rim Uprising.
It's not sexy.
What?
I saw that. There was zero arousal for me.
this is literally feels like reality TV.
Oh.
Okay.
So this series started on April 7th, and some of the maybe the viewers aren't familiar with it. Where is it? What is the premise of the show? Yes.
Yeah, so ultimately it ends up being a comedy, but social experiment, because at the end, ultimately, they have this one person who's not in on the joke that this is a reality TV show or a scripted reality TV show. And ultimately it becomes a show about him and his conscience. And I think he ends up doing really well and showing the amazing type of person he is. So, but through it, it's really funny just in general, because there's so much, I think, comedic truth to what we're seeing, and the types of jurors you can possibly have. And it kind of goes into a situation where, yes, these are funny extremes of the type of people that could potentially be on a jury panel. But ultimately, that's why we advise our clients a lot of times why going to trial is such a roll of the dice, because you never know who you're going to get on the jury. It could
Really don't.
because the only qualification is they have a valid driver's license.
Yeah, there were more qualifications back in the day, but now it's just if you have a driver's license, you're in the boat, so to speak, and then there's a variety of ways you can quote unquote get out of it. I've always thought that especially for people that complain about the system and how the system is run, that these are the people a lot of times that are trying to get out of jury duty. So the goal would be to have more intelligent, analytical people that can analyze these things, but then that sometimes is not always what happens. Sometimes you get people that I think they're dying to be there, which could be a good thing, but you also get people that are literally trying to get themselves out of jury duty, and there's different ways they can do that, right? I mean, there's all kinds of ways that they could say, well, I want to get myself disqualified from this. So, but it's very interesting. It's interesting because one of the things that we can never pick up on is we never know as lawyers in our trial cases what is going on in that deliberation. It's just not allowed. We're not allowed to go in there. We're not allowed to sneak in there. We have no idea what they're talking about. My guess is they're talking about a little bit of what we talked about in the closing arguments, but a lot of it might not be.
Well, so I saw a really interesting, I think it was on TikTok. It's a really interesting video where somebody said something how, why do we get called to jury duty? Why aren't there like professional people who sit on juries? Like that's their kind of job, or are they selected essentially to do that? So you've got kind of the similar group of people maybe sitting on multiple juries and in multiple trials and situations. So they're for one, want to be there. For two, a little bit more educated. I thought it was really interesting. But then it kind of brings me back to the whole, most of the time as an attorney, you don't want other attorneys sitting on your jury.
It's like an arbitration. You
Right.
have an experience and learned, because that's what this is. You learn things by experience in this business, and then you have someone that's ruling on that. And then you can also have the situation where there's a perpetual bias. And this type of person doesn't like this type of case. And I think that's what the goal with these cases with juries is, to get the most fair and impartial set of people. And that's not just for one side, it's supposed to be for both sides. So you'll hear really good trial lawyers say, I'm trying to find out who's fair for this table and this table. And that might sound crazy in an adversarial system, but that's kind of what you're supposed to get. So that way there could be no misinterpretation of that. The people that are sitting there are going to be fair, be able to listen to the evidence, not use any prejudice to affect their decision-making. So, but it's always interesting about what they talk about when they get in there. And I guess that's what the premise of this show is, right? They're trying to show, like, give us maybe a bird's eye view of what happens in that deliberation room.
Yeah, in a scripted
fashion.
extreme way, but probably based on, again, a bit of truth. But why don't you tell us a little bit, Mike, how it does actually work in terms of voir dire or voir dire?
Yeah.
People use different, the two different terms to kind of describe jury selection, and kind of how that process works.
Voir dire is a Latin term, and there's a process. Most of the time it takes at least half a day, depending on the size of your case, the size of the jury panel. But you'll get a panel of, let's say, 25 to 30 people that come into a box. And as the lawyer on the first day of trial, you're counting, you should have a notepad like this, and you're counting the seats. And then all these people come in that are strangers. And a lot of times all you have the benefit of is a questionnaire that they filled out that talks about some basic demographics about where they may have been born, if they never had a civil case before. We're talking about in a civil context. It's a civil. Have they ever had a civil case before? Have they ever been injured, for example, if it's an injury case? So you learn a little bit, and then you're sitting there, and sometimes you can hire professionals that are good with dealing with juries,
jury consultants,
right? And there's a huge psychological component to it, and so it's just like anything else. You want to find someone, number one, that's not biased with your case. So as we talked about at the beginning, one of the things I ask right away is that, do you have a problem with personal injury lawyers, with all the billboards and everything? Are you going to come in here with a strike against you? And no matter what you hear today, you are not going to be able to put aside your bias for the fact that you just think that people that are trying to make personal injury claims are just looking for money. And you have to ask them that, because it's not that we don't think they can be fair in other situations. It's just this situation. I mean, you analogize it to, like, I sometimes I've used the analogy of a pie eating contest. You make this pie, it was blueberry. Somebody else makes a raspberry pie, and everybody puts it into a competition. But, then the jury would be like the judges for the pie eating contest. If you're sitting there and you just have I can't stand blueberries. They make me sick. You're coming in there with a bias against that blueberry pie. Right. And that blueberry pie might be fantastic, but at the end of the day, it's just not for you. You shouldn't be the judge of that. And that's kind of what we go with the juries.
I love that analogy. That's a really good analogy. And you do that, you try and do that in front of the jury?
Icebreaker. Because when you're sitting up there, you're looking at these people that are looking at you. Most of them probably don't want to be there. They probably don't know yet that it's a personal injury case. They probably don't know they're going to be there for 4 days. And you got to kind of say, hey, look, I'm just a regular guy. This is what I do for a living. Let me talk about something everybody knows, cooking.
Yeah, because when you show up for jury duty, you don't know what jury you might be impaneled for, selected for, or have to sit in on. You could potentially be impaneled or on. And essentially, I think probably a lot of people are a little disappointed when they hear it's a civil case. Probably they're already like even more upset.
Oh, no.
There's already a major disappointment in that, because everybody, I think not everybody, but I think a lot of people would actually love to be on a jury for like something very high profile or something that's extremely important.
Yep.
And then you just you realize you're in, just a general negligence auto accident case, not Johnny Depp status or anything, or Donald Trump status civil trials, but like, just regular Joe Smo from down the street,
And not saying that those aren't important, because they are important. It's not for a third party doesn't have a dog in the fight. It might not be as important.
No, I think it just is another little strike, right?
Right. So interesting stuff.
Very interesting. And then, the theory for civil trial attorneys is ultimately that jury selection, voir dire, is like basically the most important part of trial, making sure that you impanel the right type of jury and the right type of people for your client who are going to potentially have a beneficial verdict towards your client.
Yeah, there's a science to trying to get that. And obviously you want impartial, but you also don't want someone that's not sympathetic to your case. And that's the whole goal. And there's different types of ways to get people eliminated. But you better be able to ask the right questions, because if the judge doesn't think that that person should be eliminated, then they don't think they should be eliminated. You get 3 strikes you get 3 regular strikes. So you can say, you know what, I'm getting rid of this person. I'm not going to tell you why, judge. I just want this person gone. Now, if there's a specific reason, like there's a race or gender issue, that's a different story. The other side has to have the burden of showing, hey, they're trying to get rid of this person because they're a female or they're a certain ethnic status. But generally, you get 3 strikes. After those 3 strikes, you better be able to show 4 causes why this person should be eliminated. For example, the person, going back to our analogy, that doesn't like blueberry pies. Well, this person doesn't like personal injury cases. They told us on record they cannot be impartial. Those people are gone for cause. So you have to strategically use your cause challenges versus your strikes.
Yes.
So it's kind of fun, actually, but it's probably not fun for our clients.
It's quite the art form.
Yeah.
And some civil trial attorneys have made like an art form out of it in terms of that's all they concentrate on.
Yeah.
And that's what they give advice on to other attorneys who want to, be trial attorneys and start getting better at that, because ultimately that's what it comes down to. But that was that's a fun little show, and it's even more fun for us to watch because we kind of get the extremist satire behind it. And ultimately, you hope that when people get on a jury that they tell you the truth about their biases, so that you can make sure that as an attorney, you're representing your client like you need to have the right jury, to move forward for your client. So,
And they should tell the truth, right? I mean, that's the way you're not wasting everybody's time.
correct. Right.
So don't get yourself off just to get yourself off. Try to participate in their system.
Yeah. Well, I got selected for jury duty really recently. I was very excited. I really wanted to I know I wasn't going to probably get selected,
Right.
but I wanted to go through the process and see what it would be like to go through that particular process. But unfortunately they let us go. We weren't called. Yeah. So, but anyway, well, if you want to know a little bit more about jury duty, voir dire, or anything relating with trials, leave us a comment, subscribe, and follow, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.